Hi there, I'm Rob J. Hayes, and today I'm going to be reading to you from my new book, Spirits of Vengeance. Once mighty, twice broken, cursed hunter of the dead, both beyond and seeking, in service to the grave, a battle, even by time forgotten. What words can mean, no words can say, a vow before God, unbroken. Stained by sin, with ink run red, a purpose much thicker than water. A reflected face reveals the mirror's truth, shattered into nothing but edges. Familial ties, a mother's love, vengeance for all those beyond saving. All embers die, leaving ashen remains, yet dead sparks can be rekindled. A heart passed on, no flesh to bind, before gods and monsters waiting. Once killed, twice lost, a remnant beyond harness or taming, with vengeance for skin and purpose for soul, a fleeting memory of all that was taken. Prologue. The school burned. Konehashi, the fifth sage under heaven, paced through halls thick with flames and smoke. There was no saving his beloved academy now. The fires had spread too fast, unnaturally so. His students screamed at terrifying figures in the courtyard. His fellow teachers of a serpent wreathed in black fire. The Onryu had come for him. Everything was his fault, and he had to stop it. The fifth sage under heaven stepped from the flames of his burning school and out into the frigid night air. Snow and ash fell black and white into the courtyard, covering the ground with grey sludge underfoot. Across the slushy ground and falling snow, just a dozen paces away, the Onryu waited for him. There were four of them, each one a monster. He's so ancient, said an immense woman, crouched on her haunches and straining at the confines of her hanfu. Two segmented spider legs reached over her shoulders, each one plucking at the air like the strings of an invisible koto. She smiled at him, and Konehashi saw serrated fangs glistening behind ruby lips. The old ones always taste of dust and lemons. The tall man beside her groaned. Must you always prattle on about eating? He had a perfumed beauty at odds with the surrounding wreckage and wore a woman's kimono. His long hair floated around his head and shoulders as though he were underwater, each braid tipped with a vicious metal barb. Quiet, said a hideously ugly man squatting on his haunches. Flames flew like spittle from his mouth when he spoke, and he leered at Konehashi with goggling eyes. He was bald and short, even in platformed wooden clogs, and his round belly poked out of his robe. Flames drooled from the corner of his mouth like saliva, melting the snow at his feet and scorching the ground black. This is the sagey sage we're here to find. He glanced sideways at the last figure. The last Onryu wore a white robe and said nothing. Dark smoke from the burning academy surged along the snow toward them, pooling beneath their robe and billowing out from their sleeves. Their hood was up, and there was nothing within but an empty void. Where is your master? Konehashi said. If he was to fight the Onryu, he would fight them all at once. He would defeat them once and for all, make them pay for their atrocities. Konehashi took a few steps toward them. His years hung heavy on him, and his body ached from a fatigue only ancient bones could know. His kimono was stained with soot and scorched by fire, his walking stick blackened by the flames. Despite his age, his ki roared within him like an inferno that made the burning academy seem like a dying ember. The white-robed figure glided closer on a blanket of smoke. Golden swirls of winds and cloud patterning crawled along the road. Tell us where to find the final prison, sage. A woman's voice scratched from the darkness of the hood. Never. He was the only one left who knew the location of the final prison. The sentry blade was dead. The gilded crone was gone. The ticking clock was worse than dead. If the fifth sage under heaven was to join them, so be it. He'd guard the secret to the grave, just as they all had. The fat woman chuckled, her massive body shaking and 2 more spider legs stretched out from behind her, tugging at fine strands of silk. I can make him talk, she said. The beautiful man sighed. Please, no, Zifeng. You always leave such a dreadful mess. The squat man stood up to his full, inconsiderable height, leering at the white-robed woman. He put you in charge of this mission, Crow. Flames spat from his mouth with each word. How do you want to play this? Smoke billowed out from the woman, creeping around the courtyard, winding between her companion's legs and staining the snow a dirty grey. Not all of your students escaped, Sage, she said. One of the smoky tendrils dragged a struggling boy from behind them. A young Copton boy, Dorje. Ash and soot blackened his uniform. His hands, feet, and mouth were bound by thick strands of silken webbing. The tentacle of smoke lifted him up by his wrists, dangling him before the robed woman, and then threw him at Zifeng's swollen feet. Tell me where to find the prison, or my sister will devour the boy. Kanihashi sighed. It left him no choice. He knew the Onryo would come for him, but he had hoped they would leave the students out of it. It was a foolish old man's hope. He had condemned them all. Look at me, Dorje. The boy's tear-filled eyes met the sage's. There was nothing but wild animal fear in them. I am sorry. Kanihashi raised his hand and flicked a falling snowflake with his finger. The flake flashed towards Dorje and vanished, piercing his chest and heart as surely as an arrow. The boy tensed and then relaxed, a red stain already seeping into the slush behind him. Kanihashi hated it, but he had no choice. The boy's life was nothing compared to the havoc the Onryo would unleash upon the world if he didn't stop them. Oh, that was mean, Zifeng said sulkily, dark spider eyes staring at Kanihashi. They taste so much sweeter when alive. Her spider legs were already pawing at Dorje's body, silken strands shining in the flickering light as she wrapped a cocoon around his corpse. Kanihashi took another step forward, feet crunching the snow behind him. He stood up to his full height and felt his own old bones crack with the strain, his muscles aching with the effort. They thought him weak because he was old, thought him infirm because he stooped. They would soon learn the 5th sage under heaven was still a force unrivaled. I will never give up the prison, not to monsters like you. He let his ki flow. Snow and ash blasted away, swirling around him, caught in the invisible currents of his power. Dark wings fluttered above Kanihashi, and something heavy thumped to the ground behind him. He glanced over his shoulder and grimaced. The master of the Onryo had come for him. So that's the prologue of Spirits of Vengeance, which is the 3rd book in the Mortal Techniques standalone series. Each one is designed to be read completely independently of all the others, so you can start with this one if you so choose. And it's coming out on September 28th. Thank you.